Welcome back to the Demon Slayer Gaming Channel. We're going to be continuing our Final Fantasy XIV Dungeon Guide series today. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Wanderer's Palace Hard Mode. Starting off for the trash pools in here, there will be several AoEs like usual. Some are frontal cones and other ones are circular ones. So just like always, make sure that you're positioning the enemies facing away from your allies. For the first boss, throughout the fight, he will throw down a sacred spear. This will need to be focused on by your party members. If it stays up, it'll continuously release a party-wide AoE. And as the fight progresses, he will continue to throw more and more of these spears, so if you do not destroy them quickly, they will do continuous damage around the entire party very quickly. He will also target random party members and hit them with a random spear that does explode in an AoE, so it is good to spread out a bit so the party members that gets hit by this spear does not damage multiple party members. For the second area, you want to pull the enemies away from the sacred standards as they buff the units that are inside them with damage and damage reduction. So just pull all the units in between the two standards. That way none of them are benefiting from the buffs. There will be several AoEs that come from all of these enemies, so you will want to position yourself in a way that you can avoid as many of them as possible. Lots of them are frontal cone abilities, so you'll want to keep an eye out for those. There will be one spellcaster that you can break line of sight on to make sure that he comes down from the top of the stairs. Proceeding into the next area, you will again want to pull them outside of the area of the standards. Make sure that you're picking up aggro on the spellcaster. The other ones will naturally follow you, especially if you hit them with an AoE. But if you don't get adequate aggro on the Sophist, which is the spellcaster, then they will switch to your healer or one of your other party members and start attacking them instead. After all the units are dead, you'll proceed through the door to the second boss. This boss is a spellcaster mostly. He will target you with fires and fire spit, which is just a increased damaging version of fire. He will also randomly target one of your party members occasionally with a fire spell, and then summon sacred standards. Each of these standards does a buff you'll want one of your DPS walking into them to figure out which one has the damage buff. And that is the one that you'll want to continuously call out and pick up throughout the fight. The other ones all do negative buffs. One will toad you, one does a heavy debuff, and the other one does a fire vulnerability debuff, all of which are pretty terrible to deal with. So the only one you'll want to pick up is the one that releases the damage buff. Once you figure that one out, you can pick that one up and leave the rest of them so that the boss picks them up eventually. All the buffs that they provide, he doesn't get any of the debuffs, but he will get the damage up buffs. So that's why you want to make sure to grab that standard. It is random, so you won't know until you're in the fight and are test them out to see which one provides the damage up buff. But after you figure it out, you can avoid all the ones that are not the damage up. After clearing the units in the next area, they'll drop the Asylum Key, which you will need to pick up to unlock the Asylum Cells, which release a couple Tonberries that will open up the next path for you. Path is in the first room here, so after releasing the 2 Tonberries, just come wait for them to reach the room to open up the door. In this area, you'll have to kill the Abscesses, which will spawn additional units throughout the fight. So you'll just want to pick up the Pustules as they spawn. After the Abscess is dead, then you'll activate the Drainage Valve, which will drain the water, spawning a couple more enemies in your way. And this will open up the arena for the last boss. For the last boss, what I like to do is pick him up and immediately drag him to the left side of the arena here. He does have a frontal cone AoE that is untelevised that he will repeatedly do throughout the fight. So that's why I like to take him to the side. But he does do a arena-wide AoE on random party members, so the rest of your team will want to stay close to him as you move him around the arena. Throughout the fight, he will do an ability called Rotgrass, which will spawn a Sacred Standard. This standard gives him a damage up buff and a damage reduction buff while he is standing in the AoE. So you'll want to just barely move him to the outside edge, right outside of it, so that he is not getting the buffs, but the AoEs are overlapping so that they're taking up less room around the arena. As you can see here, I didn't do a perfect job of getting him outside of the AoE, so he is maintaining those buffs that he should not have. Occasionally, the Rotghast will spawn a Sacred Idol instead that will tether to the boss, preventing all damage to him. This one will need to be destroyed before you can continue damaging the boss. Once the boss gets down to half health, he will spawn several adds into the fight that you will just want to pick up and kill first. He will also occasionally do a debuff on a party member that is a healing reduction debuff. The way to remove this is to either use Esuna to clear it off, full heal the party member, which will also remove it. Continue moving the boss around the arena outside of the AoEs. And that should be it for the Wanderer's Palace hard mode. I hope this helps a few of you out. If it does, please make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And I will catch you on the next one.